Hello, everyone. It is Pal Ponder on Weather coming to you. It's 9:30 on Wednesday night with another update. If you enjoy the weather, please consider subscribing to my channel. So I got a lot to talk about today. Today we're going to kind of update you on Hurricane Dorian, on what's happening. So here's the latest track of the 8 p.m. advisory from the NHC. It's got Dorian, an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane. It's moving 13 miles an hour northwest. If you were with me in my last advisory, Dorian was a very small, compact storm. And we talked about threading the needle. Well, what happened was it was so small, the center of it got relocated north, about 50 to 75 miles north. So when that happened, obviously that put it more in the open waters. It's going to clip Puerto Rico, and it's going to miss the Dominican Republic altogether. So it's going to miss the mountains. So it's going to have plenty of more time to be over the open waters. And here's the latest track from the NHC. Actually has this as now a major hurricane going into Florida sometime on Sunday afternoon. All right, so we're going to go over all the possibilities of what might transpire. But right now, this will be the first major hurricane to hit the United States since Matthew last year of October 10th. So let's kind of delve right into it. Here's the latest satellite picture. You can kind of see it's kind of definitely getting its act together. There's Puerto Rico. It's safely away from there, kind of getting the outer bands. But you can also almost see kind of an eye wall forming. So this is Wednesday. We're talking Sunday afternoon landfall. So we still got 5 days to track this thing. Here is the latest water temperatures. Obviously, this has got a lot of fuel to work with, and that's with the latest track, that's relevant why they think it's going to go to a major hurricane, because it only takes 82 degrees to water temps, and these things are pushing 80, 90 degrees out there. Here's the latest shear environment, which is another not a good sign. Where you see the reds and stuff, that's basically shear. Where you don't, where basically Dorian is, there is absolutely no shear to get in its way. So there's actually nothing to stop this, and this is the worst case scenario. A developing and strengthening hurricane approaching land. So here's the latest shear out in the Gulf, and kind of gives you the same exact thing. The other one was the dust. This is the shear. Again, there's not much shear out there to kind of inhibit this thing from forming. And one of the reasons why it's actually going north and kind of going to take that kind of a westward jog is you've got high pressure, and that's going to steer it. But it's also going to enhance it, strengthen it, because you've got convergence. So it's actually pushing down on the storm and keeping it south and nudging it west. All right. So when that happens, it kind of fuels itself, and it kind of feeds off that feedback loop. So there's two frames. There's a high pressure here. It's going to steer it towards Florida, and that's why they're thinking that the latest track is going to go into Orlando. We'll go over the European and the GFS. They're thinking two different models, two different scenarios. But it all depends on the strength of two high pressure systems. There's one coming up here, and the next frame shows the other one. So as this possibly swings across Florida and comes up towards Destin, based on the latest European, it could run into another high pressure early next week, could potentially stall this system out. So there's a lot of things to talk about. Here's the latest European model where they think the 51 Ensemble members are comprised of. And it basically has that west bend feeding off that high pressure to the north, bending it, and then kind of fishtailing it back, feeling that effects on the other high pressure, and kind of fishtailing it back. And that's where it can get potentially stalled out or something. So, yeah, so here's the latest water content value. Obviously, when you got a developing hurricane, strengthening hurricane, major hurricane coming ashore, there's a tremendous amount of rain with this system, and this is showing 4-inch rain amounts. So, and this kind of has the eye kind of in south central Florida. All right, so the GFS actually has a little higher, but so this is the water content. So the latest European, as of the latest 8 p.m. advisory, the latest Ensemble members have it at a 962 millibar hurricane as it comes ashore. All right, the GFS is a little higher than that, so we're going to go over both scenarios. And obviously, here's the latest precipitation output shows, 10, 15 inches of rain crossing South Florida. And as it takes that bend, based on this latest track, it would go directly into the panhandle, into the Destin area later on Monday, potentially Tuesday of next week. So there's a lot to talk about. I'll be doing plenty of updates on this, but that's the latest track right now. Here's the latest GFS model. It's got a little bit higher. It's got it going a little bit further north. It thinks that high pressure to the north, it actually weakens a bit, so it pulls it further north. It's not as strong, and therefore it's not as strong as the hurricane, 968. All right. So here's the latest Ensemble members for the GFS. It shows that bend, but it's got plenty of members potentially bringing it North Florida and then fishtailing it back to the Carolinas. So essentially, as of right now, anywhere from Miami to Savannah, Georgia is under the gun of this potential hurricane. And so if it does take that south bend and then it comes across on the other side, it could again redevelop and re-strengthen as it comes up into the panhandle. So there's going to be a lot of talk about this system. This is only Wednesday, so we're talking a few days out. And here's the rain output for the latest GFS model for Dorian. It shows it much further north, and it shows very little rain. So you can see it depends on where this individual track is. That's where you're going to get the bulk of the precipitation. Here's the latest HWRF model. I don't put too much weight on this, but I only show this because this particular model nailed Harvey and it nailed Michael with the intensity. So this has it all the way down to 918. I'm not saying this is going to happen or anything, but I give this credibility because it actually had a 919 of Michael, and it landed 919, and back when Harvey hit several years ago, it had 942, and that's exactly what it hit. So this model tends to be overdone, but it's got to have some weight since it called two formidable hurricanes to strike the United States. So I wouldn't put too much weight in it, but that's just something to show you right now. And here's kind of a flashback. This storm technically reminds me of two storms. Hurricane Francis back in 2004, where it kind of felt that ridge to the north and it took that west bend, and you can see it developing into a Cat 5 hurricane. Not to say that Dorian is, but that's always a potential. And then it kind of fishtails up and bends it back to the right. And here's, of course, everybody remembers Hurricane Andrew back in 92, where it kind of, again, it fishtailed to the west, took a westward jog, and then took that right bend, feeling that high pressure. So that's kind of the latest on Dorian as of right now. This is the latest on Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. So I wanted to come on board, but you guys anywhere from Miami to South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, needs to be prepared for some sort of potential landfall, potentially a major landfall for the United States. All right, I appreciate you tuning in. I'm grateful that you're watching. And again, catch me in the next video where I protect you before and after the storm.